Long ago, on the edge of an enchanted forest, there sat a magical pond. It was said that anyone who looked into its waters would discover their heart's true desire. But there was a catch. The pond would only show it to those with pure hearts. A little girl named Emily, with bright eyes and a curious spirit, lived nearby. One day, as the sunlit tree leaves whispered secrets of the wind, Emily decided to visit the magical pond. She had often heard tales from the old storyteller in the village about its powers, and the idea of uncovering her true desire made her heart flutter with excitement. When Emily arrived, the pond was shimmering under the golden light of the morning sun, as if it were sprinkled with magic dust. She leaned over, peering into the crystal clear water. At first, all she saw was her reflection, but then the water began to ripple and swirl. Suddenly, images appeared. Emily saw herself surrounded by animals, tending to them, playing, and ensuring their happiness. Her smile widened as she realized her heart's desire was to care for creatures, big and small. Delighted by her discovery, Emily hurried back home. Her mind resolved to follow her newfound passion. She began spending her days nurturing the forest animals, feeding them and mending their wounds. And as she did, she found joy not only in seeing them thrive, but also in their company. Word of Emily's kindness spread through the village, and soon people came to seek her advice on caring for their pets. Emily felt fulfilled, her life enriched by the animals and the trust the village people placed in her. One rainy afternoon, an elderly villager approached Emily. "I've heard how you bring happiness to the creatures of the forest," he said. "Your kindness reminds me of the importance of caring not just for ourselves, but for all living things." Emily beamed at the words, understanding the truth in them. The magic of the pond had shown her more than just her desire. It taught her a valuable lesson, that happiness is found in giving and caring for others. And so, the legend of the magical pond grew, teaching all who came upon its waters a lesson of love and selflessness, reminding them that true desires are the ones that bring joy to others as well. Once upon a time, in a quaint little village, there lived a milkman named Gopal. He was known throughout the village for the rich taste of his milk. Every morning, he would load his cart with metal cans full of fresh milk, whistling happily as he made his rounds. But Gopal had a little secret. He was greedy. You see, Gopal used to add water to the milk to increase the quantity. This way he could sell more milk and earn extra money. No one will ever notice, he thought to himself every time he poured water into the cans. One fine morning, just as the sun peeked over the hills, he set off for the market as usual. His first stop was the bakery run by sweet Aunt Leela. She always had a warm smile for Gopal, and she often gave him an extra bun or cake for his children. Today, Aunt Leela seemed to hesitate. "Gopal," she began, her voice gentle but firm, "I noticed the milk has been getting quite thin. My cakes aren't as fluffy as they used to be." Gopal's cheeks turned as red as a ripe apple. "Oh, must be the cows," he stammered, trying to dismiss her concern. Aunt Leela just nodded and handed him the usual coins. As Gopal continued on his rounds, another customer shared the same complaint, and another. Soon it seemed everyone was murmuring about the milk. Feeling worried, Gopal decided to rush home before anyone else could question him. But on his way back, the sky turned gray and a sudden storm broke out. Gopal hurried faster, his cart rattling along the muddy path. In the haste, one of the wheels got stuck in the thick mire, and with a loud splash, his milk cans toppled over, spilling their watery contents all over the muddy road. Gopal sank to his knees in dismay. Seeing his plight from her window, Aunt Leela hurried out with an umbrella, and some villagers followed, concerned. Maybe this is a sign, she said kindly but wisely. Honesty is the best policy, Gopal. Mixing water and milk not only deceives others but also yourself. Embarrassed and touched by her kindness, Gopal promised to change his ways. From then on, he delivered only the richest and purest milk, and soon earned back the trust of the villagers. And so, the moral of the story is, dishonesty may seem profitable at first, but honesty and integrity will always lead to true richness in life. Once upon a time, in a quaint village nestled by the gentle rolling hills, there lived a mischievous little mouse named Marvin. Now Marvin wasn't just any mouse. He had fur as soft as the summer clouds and a tail that twitched with curiosity. But, my dear listeners, Marvin had one notable flaw. He was terribly greedy. Marvin lived in a snug little hole under a grand oak tree, which wasn't so far from Farmer George's barn. Farmer George, known for his delicious cheese, kept stacks upon stacks of it in his pantry. Marvin, with a nose for cheese, always found his way to the scrumptious Swiss and the delectable cheddar, nibbling little bits when Farmer George wasn't around. One day, as Marvin scurried about the barn in search of a special treat, he stumbled upon a trap. Inside this shiny contraption was the biggest, most delicious-looking piece of cheese Marvin had ever seen. His eyes twinkled with desire, and his little heart pounded with excitement. "Oh, what a treasure! I must have it, all of it," he squeaked, rubbing his tiny paws together. But just as Marvin approached the cheese, a wise old crow perched on the nearby fence croaked, "Little mouse, aren't you aware? That cheese is not what it seems. It's a trap, I declare." Marvin, being the stubborn mouse he was, heedlessly ignored the crow's warning. Just a nibble, he thought, just a teeny tiny nibble. He darted forward and, snap, the trap closed on Marvin's tail. Startled and caught, Marvin realized his greed had led him into trouble. Luckily, Farmer George, who was just passing by, heard the clatter. Surprised to see Marvin, and with a soft heart for creatures, he gently released the silly little mouse. "You cheeky fellow," chuckled Farmer George. "Maybe this will teach you a lesson." Marvin scampered back to his home, his tail still tingling from the pinch. That day, he learned a valuable lesson about greed and its pitfalls. From then on, Marvin was known in the village as the wisest and most cautious of mice, having learnt that sometimes it's better to take heed and be satisfied than to let greed lead you astray. And so, dear listeners, the moral of this story is simple yet profound. Be content with what you have, for greed can sometimes land you in a trap, just like Marvin the Mouse learned on that fateful day. So remember, stay wise, stay content, and always listen to the warnings of those who care.